I see a lot of hope in the way that the current discourse about gender and sex is being complicated. I think that it has always been complicated, but our language didn't reflect that. And now I think we're starting to really come into a fuller understanding of the complexity of what it means for women and men of lots of different ages, of lots of different family structures, to navigate work and home life. And so I have great hope for it just continuing to move us closer to equality, although certainly we're still a long way from there.
into the workforce, their skills were brushed off and the recognition for their work was never shown. You could see this by how much women were paid. Some of the earliest women to face this sort of discrimination in America were factory workers. Women who worked in factories in the late 1800s made about $3 per week. If a woman were to work every week for a year, their yearly total pay would come to about $156. The value of $156 in the early 1800s is equivalent to about $4,700 today. During the Civil War, more job opportunities for women began to come forward. While men were away at war, more women became nurses. The female nurses that worked under Dorothy Dix made about $12 a month, while their male counterparts made about $20 every month. Women were forced not only into factory work, but also other laborious jobs that were open due to the fatalities of around 600,000 men in the war. During the Great Depression, women took a hard hit when unemployment grew to 25%. Black women were the first to lose their jobs, with white women following after them. They were forced back into domestic life without getting any compensation to help support their families. During World War II, the job availability for women grew extremely large. Between 1940 and 1945, the amount of women in the workforce increased from 27% to 37%. Following the influence from Rosie the Riveter, women started working typically male-dominated jobs, like working with heavy metal equipment in factories and building supplies for war. Even though women were doing the same job as men were before they were sent to war, they were paid only about 50% of what the men were paid.
For the longest time, the only place where a woman was considered to be at was home. This included taking care of the children, cooking, and cleaning. The idea of women working outside of the home was unthinkable. However, with turning points such as major wars, the concept of women working began to change. Up until the Civil War, women were always expected to stay at home and tend to the children. Once the Civil War erupted, women were beginning to take part in the workforce. Many women supported the war by becoming nurses and aides, with the addition of some disguised as spies and soldiers. At that time, these occupations would have been inconceivable, but during the war, they were encouraged. Class and race played a crucial role in determining which work women would perform. High-class white women had positions of higher power, such as management of the plantations and businesses. On the other hand, lower-class white women made up most of the labor force. Not only were white women affected, but African American women as well took part in the workforce. Unfortunately, African American women performed the more physically demanding work. During the First World War, a great deal of women were recruited into jobs vacated by the men who had left to fight in the war. In 1918, nearly 3 million women were employed in food, textile, and war industries. The expanding war industries especially had a profound impact for women's access to the workplace. Due to the increasing demand of weapons, munition factories were created, which ended up being the main source of employment for women. In World War II, since many men were sent off to war, there was a shortage of people for jobs. With the increase of new production for the war effort, women took over jobs that were typically male-dominated. Occupations such as mechanics, switchboard operators, and telegraphers were some examples of the work women performed. Propaganda was used through film, print, and radio to encourage women to work for the duration of the war. Rosie the Riveter became a major symbol for women being given access to the workforce. Above all, despite the negative effects of war on men, war became a source of strength for women. It was a symbol of freedom and hope, especially with World War II. A symbol that meant women no longer had to perform the role society created for them, such as staying at home.
During World War II, 350,000 women served in the U.S. Armed Forces. Between 1940 and 1945, women in the workplace increased. By 1945, 1 in every 4 women were outside of marriage. 1 in every 4 women worked outside their home. Although they were seeing an increase of working women at jobs that were previously close to them, this shocked me the most was that the munition industry heavily recruited women. Rosie the Riveter was a propaganda campaign. Ubiquitous character was one of the most successful recruitment tools in American history, and the most iconic image of working women during World War II. Women were crucial to war effort. There was still a pay gap. Women were good, barely earning more than 50% of their male counterparts. Women played an important role during World War II, both at home and in uniform. Not only did they give their husbands and fathers and brothers to the war effort, they gave their time, energy, and some women gave their lives. Reluctant to enter the war when it erupted in 1939, the United States quickly committed itself to total war after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. That commitment included utilizing all of American assets, women included. The access power on the other hand were sought to employ women in their war industries. Hitler divided American deaths degenerate for putting the women to work. The role of the women, he said, was to be good wives and mothers and to have more babies. When the war began, people got married fast. It became the norm. As teenagers married their sweethearts before their men went overseas, as the men fought abroad, women on the home front worked in defense plants and volunteered for war-related organizations, plus the chore of managing the households. And New Orleans, as the demand for public transportation grew, women even became streetcar conductorettes for the first time. When men left, women became professional cooks and housekeepers, managed the finances, learned to fix the car, worked in a defense plant, and wrote letters to their husbands that were consistently upbeat.
Very sort of menial tasks to women having conversations about taking leadership positions in nearly every organization, in every political system, certainly our political system, and in many political systems around the world. So it has changed in extraordinary ways, almost always moving us closer to full equality and inclusion.
Not only did women prove themselves worthy of equal pay through successfully taking over male occupations during the war, but housewives inspired by the works of Betty Friedan significantly began to prove their leadership abilities for the first time through their political awakening involving the conservative movement. Housewife turned political activists made the domestic ideology guiding their family, social, and civic lives and political careers by translating widespread cultural assumptions about female intuition into a basis for asserting authority in local affairs. Housewives shaped the conservative control of concerns, ideas, and issues that were drawn from the fabric of their everyday lives. These women overpowered school administrations, boards of education, and teachers in the name of local control and protection of parental authority. Female activists forced their priorities by anointing themselves spokespeople for parents, children, and local communities. Conservative women approached political work like other forms of civic work, as an extension of their household duties that fulfilled feminine responsibilities to the family and community. Many activists developed their earliest feelings of political community and identity in Republican Women's Club. In the post-World War II era, Republican Women's Club literature emphasized women's influence in the community and stressed the importance of the warmth, sparkling personality, and overall positive attitude that is believed women could contribute to politics. Democratic women's clubs offered the same activities. Though the ideal American housewife ventured forth as a social and charitable community builder, she still remains symbolically and spatially linked to the home, only arguing that women could be powerful leaders in our community as well as powerful mothers. Due to the work of these conservative women, the American Public Relations Forum and Minute Women of the USA influenced the idea that women had a mandated role to fulfill in the defense of freedom. This was truly a time when women were running away from the ideas of being the humblest, most self-sacrificial, and least pretentious members of America and began to show the country what they could do just as well as men could. They had an undoubtful leadership aspect that only influenced the careers and pay of women for the years to come.